Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is JJ. If you've been around here for a while, you know that I talk about books, I talk about writing, I talk about reading, and you also may remember this little thing that happened a couple years ago now, where I went down a slide at the Renaissance Festival and I broke my ankle. Yep. That, and the recovery process from that was the beginning of a massive shift in all of my everything, really. It impacted everything. It impacted my creativity, it impacted my ability to do my job, it impacted my energy levels, it impacted my social life, it impacted everything that I was working on, including my ability to work on books and just get through normal life. And it has taken this long, it's taken this long for me to actually be able to come back to any sort of normalcy toward what I was at pre-breaking my ankle. And that's not something that they talk about, that they tell you when you have a major injury. Especially the sort of thing that is the first time that you ever had something like that. The recovery process is far more than physical, it's also mental and emotional, and that takes a long time. And even just dealing with the reality of the impact that that has had on my body, that's still impacting me. Way less than it was, but it's still a consistent part of my life, my day, my process, and everything that I'm doing. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update video, I guess. I don't know how many of you care, but I wanted to give a little bit of a where have I been, where am I going, what am I working on, what have I been reading, what have I been watching, all of the above, just sort of since the last time I was on here regularly. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update. So, starting off, when I broke my ankle. Fun day at the Renaissance Festival. It was a great time. We were there for 15 minutes before the fated event. I wanted to have the most fun I could possibly have because I didn't know how many times I was going to be able to go back to the Renaissance Festival. It was my first time there. I didn't know if I was going to like it or what, so I was trying my best to have the best time I could have. And I shattered everything. I mean, absolutely shattered. It was so bad that when we got to urgent care and they did x-rays, the surgeon could not even set my bones because there was nothing to set. The pieces that were, sorry, this is a little graphic for you, but the pieces that would have been holding my bones in place were floating. They were not able to hold my bone, my foot, my ankle, all where it needed to be. And so even if he had tried, it wouldn't have done anything. So he just had to put me in a little splint sort of thing, a very temporary boot, and I had to go find a surgeon. Woo! Yeah, so that began a long time. Many months of surgery, recovery, follow-ups, and relearning everything about normal, basic human movement. And really making that recovery toward, like, will I be able to walk again? Will I be able to run again? Will I be able to jump? Would I be able to just do a casual, oh, let me run up the stairs to go grab that thing I forgot in my room, right? Like, all of that was suddenly up in the air. And I found myself in the weirdest mental space where I was off work because I was working at Starbucks at the time, and you can't really be a barista if you can't stand. So at least at my store, it was not going to be reasonable to try to find accommodations for that, and I wasn't allowed medically to put any weight on my leg. And so we adjusted, and that was a long process, truly, of okay, suddenly no work, very little social life because I couldn't drive to get out to anybody. So if I had a social life, they came to me. Very little energy because I was frankly depressed and fighting my way through that, as well as trying to heal. And then, out on top of that, the strong desire to create something and the absolute reality that nothing I could think of went beyond my own leg, right? I couldn't focus for longer than an hour. And in a time where I was facing medical bills, I was far more stressed about how I was going to pay those medical bills than I was interested in creating fiction that won't pay out, maybe ever. So I pivoted. I worked at the time. Also, I was working part-time as a barista at Starbucks, and I was also working part-time as a publicist for a publishing company. Blessedly, I was able to do the work that I normally would be able to do for that publishing company from my couch. It worked really well. I had the space and the time, and it was okay if things were, when I was able to get them done. And as I started healing, I realized, okay, even once I'm able to stand again, realistically, I am a long ways away from being able to do an 8-hour shift at a coffee shop on my feet. And so I was like, okay, I have to find a different job. I have to find something else. And I love the publishing house. I love what I'm doing, but that wasn't at the time looking like it was going to be a viable solution to my immediate problem of I can't go back to work full time, but I'm running out of time on medical leave because the surgeon, I'm beyond what the surgeon can do for me. It's time for physical therapy in order for me to be able to stand and walk and move and appear like somebody who's never been injured. And so I started applying for other jobs. In the process, I asked my freelance boss if she could give me a recommendation letter for a librarian position. And she was like, well, I'd be happy to, but I also would like to offer you a full-time position with our company. And I was like, oh, great, that's even better because I already know I like you guys. I already know I like the work. I already know I like the job. And so the librarian position didn't pan out. I went and interviewed anyway, but it didn't pan out. And so I started working full-time as a publicist and assistant editor at a very small publishing house based out of North Carolina. That was incredible. I started learning all of the different aspects of publishing that I didn't yet know, everything from start to finish. Like, I knew the processes, but I'd never actually done the processes of book editing, the legal side of contracts and ISBN numbers and file management and file requirements and all of that stuff. And there's still a lot of that I don't know. But I was working with them for the last 2 some years. And it's been fantastic. It's been lovely and incredible. And it was a real answer to prayer and a real act of provision for what I needed in order to give me the space and the time to actually recover with my ankle. It's also been really fun because I've been able to start doing things like cover design and editorial work, which are things that I in college had always wanted to try and do on a professional level, and now I've actually done it. I've achieved that goal, right? I now also know which of those jobs I like doing better and more. I also know which ones I am good at. I know what parts of the publishing process I needed to study and learn. And during that time, I realized that in order to get back to where I was pre-ankle, where I was recording YouTube videos every week, and I was writing on my blog once a month, and I was working on my novel, and I was doing all of this incredible work for various different freelance authors and also my authors at the publishing house. And I was going and going and going and going. My social life was full. My career was panning out. It was phenomenal. And then my ankle happened and I lost track of all of that. And I realized that I needed to start putting the pieces back together. It was no longer just enough for me to be able to walk. I wanted to be able to jog. I wanted to be able to hop. I wanted to be able to do short sprints. I wanted to be comfortable and confident that my leg was not going to give out on me if I just took off and did, a short jog around the block. And I'm still working on that, truly. It's still a work in progress, because turns out multiple months of not using your leg causes pretty severe muscle deterioration, and it takes a long time to build that back up. And if you're lacking certain flexibility, building up that muscle can be really painful, because you can't stretch properly. So that's been fun to figure out. Epsom salt soaking is my best advice if you're going through anything like that. I really hope you're not, but if you found this video and you are, yeah, Epsom salt is my best friend. Really, really helps my muscles recover after I try to do something that I would have been able to do easily pre-surgery, pre-break. Anyway, so I realized that I wanted to get back into some of the things that I had been missing, but I also knew that I needed to do it carefully. If I just tried to jump in full forced the way that I had been doing it prior to my surgery, I was going to burn out. There was no doubt about it. I was absolutely going to burn out. And so I had to figure out the best system, the best way to do this without causing my own burnout and my own crash and fall. Because that's the last thing we wanted. We didn't want me to crash and burn. So I started writing once a week. I set myself a goal. I took some advice from one of my friends in college, where at the time he had given me this advice about job hunting and job searching, because I was feeling very down. This was straight after college. I was really hoping that I would get a job right away. It wasn't happening. And so I was texting with him, and he was like, hey, just go make an event of it, right? Like, make it a good experience, whether or not you actually achieve the thing that you set out to do. Just make sure that you go have fun. And so that's what I decided to do this time. I began a habit that I've been doing since quite religiously. I've talked about it before, where I take myself out for a date on the weekend. I take myself out on a solo date to a coffee shop where I buy myself a fancy latte and a pastry, because that way I don't have to worry about eating breakfast before I go. And I get myself my fancy coffee and my pastry, and I bring my computer, and whether or not I get words on the page is irrelevant. The goal is to create the space where I could write, where I have the ability to write, I have the space to write, and it's okay, it's planned out. I am making space and time so that throughout the week I don't have to feel guilty about not writing. Because that's the hardest thing when you work in the publishing industry. You're constantly helping other authors achieve their goals. And when that goal is the thing that you want, and then you don't have time for your own goals and your own ambitions, your own books, your own creative process, at the end of the day, that can be really, really wearing on you. And it was contributing to part of my creative block. And I needed to find space where I wasn't worrying about anything that they were working on, anything that I was expected to do for my job. And that's one of the things too about working from home. It's great, except that it is a little bit tricky to have that separation of work and life, especially when you're salaried, which is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, I would not trade this for the world. But it does make it very difficult to keep set work hours and set home hours that will let you have the space and time to do everything that you need to do, as well as for your job where things are not overlapping all the time, right? Because you feel like, oh, I'm home, I can just go throw in a load of laundry and then come back and do more work. When if I was going to an office, that would not be part of my workday routine. And so you run into these things where it's like, oh, I can just throw in laundry, or oh, I can run the dishwasher, or I can take a little bit extra time because I can actually cook myself a meal with my stove, my fridge, and my groceries, and not have to pack something. And then your lunch break ends up being really long. And so there's a lot of things that there was a learning curve, a definite learning curve about how life in that rhythm worked. And one of the hardest pieces for that was, okay, with Starbucks, I would go to work in the morning and I would come home and it would be free time. With publishing, working at home all the time, I was thinking about books all the time anyway. And again, don't get me wrong, it's lovely, it's incredible, it's my favorite thing. I would not be doing this if I didn't love thinking about books all the time. It's just that sometimes I wanted to think about my own books. And so I had to carve out time for that. And so I began this weekly habit of going to a writing, or taking myself out on a writing date and going to a coffee shop with the express purpose, an idea, an intention of sitting down to put words on the page. And it didn't matter if those words were 3,000 or 100. It didn't matter. The goal was simply to get words on the page. And I've done that consistently. The only times I've missed it are when I'm traveling, which is honestly pretty impressive to me that I was able to maintain and hold that habit for that long. And I truly think it's because I was letting the space be its own event. I would go rain or shine. I would go whether or not friends gathered with me to work on their own novels alongside of me. I would go because it was important to me and because it was the only time in the week that I really got to spend time thinking about and working on my own projects. And so that's what I've been doing for the last year. It's been at least a year. Yeah, it's been a whole year. At the time of filming this, I started doing that at the end of last April in 2022. And in that year, I created incredible things. I began working on a rewrite of a book that I've been working on forever and ever and ever and ever. And if you've been around here, you know about it. This book is one that I've started over and restarted and started again and reassessed and thought, oh, perhaps this book series, because that's what it is, it's a series, perhaps rather than doing 5 books, it should be 4 books. And then, oh, perhaps rather than 4 books, I should really try to make it 3 books. And then in my learning and continuing to learn about the publishing industry, I realized perhaps I should not make these books dependent on the past books. Perhaps I should make them all standalones that are connected and related to each other, but that will be able to stand on their own as a complete and full story without the cliffhanger endings that will force you to read the next book and all of the above. And it's been a really important learning journey to process that, to work on that, to identify what are the things that I love, what are the things that are the way that I grew up with, the books that I grew up with. And also, what do I do because I'm so new to my career? How do I make that work? How do I create a space where this is doable and an option? And so I worked on one of those books and I wrote 80,000 words of that from the time that I started at the coffee shop in April of 2022 through September or October of 2022 is when I finished that first draft. Possibly shorter. It might have been August or September. I don't remember exactly. And then I wrote another book, or returned to an old project I had been working on, which is another variation, iteration, fresh life, fresh idea into a character group that I had started writing back when I was in high school. I took this idea for this character and I gave her a fresh name, I gave her a fresh design, and truly she's not the same character anymore. Totally revamped her. But in that, she became her own person, and that was one of the most fun things that I've ever done. And so I started writing that book. And in the process of writing that book, I realized that I was telling the story from the wrong point of view, and so, you guessed it, I started over again. I yeah, I have a bad habit of realizing this isn't working and returning to the beginning. Taking the idea, but starting over. Keeping the things that work. I don't delete the drafts. I still have my oldest drafts of everything that I've ever written, except possibly the original pages document of the first book that I wrote when I was very, very young. I'm sure it's probably still somewhere in my if I look through my old Yahoo email from when I was 11, you know those ones? If I look through that, I might be able to find what I'm looking for, but it's not the end of the world. Anyway, and so I started over on that version again, and that was in October. And from October of 2022 through now, through the end of April 2023 and beginning of May 2023, I told those characters' stories again from different points of view, from a different focus, with a different intention. Testing out a new style, a new genre, a new focus and goal, and that's where I'm at now. I just finished that draft yesterday. Draft 1 of that is complete, and that leaves me feeling in this weird sense of both accomplishment and confusion, because what do I do now? I've been working on this book for the last 7 months, every week, without a break. And I think the natural thing is to say, okay, go take a break. You deserve one. You've been working really hard. You owe it to yourself and your creativity to rest. And I know that that's true. I know that that's what I need to do, but I also am on such a wave of momentum that I don't want to miss out on what I could create right now. The problem is I don't have any focus for that creativity and that momentum. And so, yeah, now I'm here. I'm preparing to move into the next phase of what my career could look like, preparing to move into what my life is headed for, I think. I don't have an exactly clear image of what I'm expecting, but I have some strong expectations and hopes and dreams, and I'm ready and able, both emotionally and energetically, to start pursuing those again, which is so lovely. I've missed it. I've missed having the ideas and the motivation and the creativity to sit down and film YouTube videos, to sit down and share writing on my blog, writing that I'm both proud of and also that is a free space for me to explore different styles, different rhythms, different habits, different ideas. And it's been very fun to be able to dive into the other parts of the process that I've not yet been able to do. And that's, I guess, where this brings me next. Here's where I've been, right? I've been reading books, I've been writing books, I've been editing books, I've been doing cover design and web design and coaching authors all the time on social media management. And because of that, my own platform has suffered just a little bit, which is fine. This is the stage that I'm at. It's okay. My life got busy and I'm providing myself some grace in this moment. And so if you're in a scenario like that too, you can have some grace for yourself. I give you permission. It's allowed. It's okay. Life happens, and that's both a good thing and sometimes a really hard thing, but life happens, and that's allowed. that's allowed. Yeah. So what happens next, right? This is what I've been thinking about. This is what so many people, when I tell them that I finished a book, this is what they all want to know. And the question to me then is, okay, what have I done? What do I know are the next steps in the process? Because I am blessed to have that knowledge. What are the things that I know I need to be able to do? or pursue or look into. And what happens next is that I revamp the social media that has fallen apart. Not fallen apart, but fallen behind. I revamp the things that I care about and I dig in. I build that platform that I'm constantly telling my authors that they need, right? So I plan on coming back to YouTube very regularly, or at least as regularly as I can manage for the time being, which might be every other week. It might be once a month for a little bit, but I plan on having at least one new video every month. That is the goal. I plan on having at least one new blog post on my blog every month. That is the goal. And if you've been part of my email list, I'm sorry for my relative silence. I didn't mean for that to happen. You'll be hearing from me soon. I'm gonna probably actually go send that email before I post this video. Just to say, hey guys, I'm back. Here's where I've been. Here's what I've been up to. Here's what happened. I'm okay. I'm alive. This is gonna start. You're gonna start seeing me again. And I hope that you're as excited about that as I am. I hope that you are just as excited to have me pop up on your feed as I am excited to be able to get back into this sort of stuff. With that in mind, though, I would love to make this the thing that is most interesting and exciting for you. And I realize that this video has been really long. And so if you're still here, honestly, props to you. True fans right here. You all deserve an award. I want to give you what you're coming here for, whether that's to hear a writer talk about writing, to hear somebody talk about their projects and their process, or whether that's to learn about the publishing industry and books, or just to be entertained and do some bookish scavenger hunts or anything else, truly. Those are the sorts of things that I love to do, and I would absolutely adore to be able to give you the content that you're looking for. But because of that, I need you to help me know what you're looking for. So if you have any ideas or requests or questions or challenges that you've seen done elsewhere, things that your other favorite creators are doing, I would love to give them a shout out and do what they're doing as well, and engage in the community in different ways. So if you have any ideas, comments, questions, concerns, feedback, please put those in the comments. I will be reading those, and I'm really hoping that this is as exciting for you as it is for me. Yeah. Man, I feel like I've been talking a lot. I know that there was more I was going to say, but I think for right now, for this video, that's where I'm gonna leave it. And until next time, I'll see you then. Also, before I forget, I have moved and also revamped my merch shop. So if you are looking for fun gifts for writers, or if you just really want to support the channel and support me as I go through this creative process, there's a link down in the description. I would really, really adore if you could go take a look. And even if you don't buy, but if you just share it with some author friends that you know or reader friends. Right now, most of the stuff is writing focused, but there are also, if you are a author and you're looking for an easy way to talk about your books and talk about marketing, I've created templates that are customizable and personalizable. Is that a word? We're gonna go with it. That you can personalize in the storefront so that when you order business cards for a writer's conference or an event or anything else really that you're aiming for and excited about, that's there, and ordering it through that will help support me in the work that I'm doing. So if you are trying to sell books, trying to interact with readers, trying to get a handle on how to be an author in this crazy world, I would love to help. I have an entire freelance thing going on where you can sit down one-on-one with me for a little bit and really just talk about where you're at in the process, and we can help figure out the best way forward for you. So if you have any questions about that stuff and you would like me one-on-one, I'll put that link down below as well. It'll be the Hire Me link, because your girl's gotta eat. Yeah. So anyway, check out that stuff. Check out the merch shop and check out Hanna Book Solutions. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you've made it all the way to the end of this video. It's literally like half an hour long. So thank you. You're awesome. And I cannot wait to see what else we can do together.